how has like the first couple of months and a half of the year been for you so far, 2026?
I would just say it was definitely a dark night of the soul.
Really?
I think, yeah, I just think like anything crazy that could have happened happened. Like, I definitely related to Dochi's song "Denial is a River" and like just that general feeling of like I don't know, like it was crazy. I got my favorite item stone. I had a necklace that went with this dress. Got that stone. And my job, actually, there was some guy who's gunning for me, telling people I was lying about my life, just weird stuff. So I've just been in a really weird space and just trying to say that it's like, be optimistic and say that it's according to plan. Maybe good's coming soon. But yeah, it was definitely crazy adjusting to Los Angeles. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure you could find a way to convert that poison into medicine, you know what I'm saying? You'll write a
Right.
song about it and figure out a way to push through. What do they call that? Like Murphy's Law, you know what I'm saying? Like everything that
Hey,
can go
what
wrong will go.
will go wrong? Yes, that was literally Murphy's Law.
Where, yeah, that's the
Mhm.
big city struggle. There's always something, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
always something. How long have you
Uh,
been in Los Angeles now?
It's almost a year.
Almost a
Yeah, it'll be
year?
a year in May. No,
Okay.
June. In June, it'll be a year. Yeah.
Okay. So you're coming up on a year. Word. What has
hmm
that been like in general? Like, you know what I mean? Like, has it been
Um,
tumultuous?
yeah, it has, but I'm starting to get the hang of it. Yeah, I mean, of course, the weather, because as a Maryland girly, like it's
Right.
freezing outside, but like half the year. But yeah, that being able to sing at open mics and stuff, all of the thrift shops they have, and just I've been reading the artist way, so I'm trying to find back like that magic. I like going to the beach. And I know this is a city area, but I do like being places where there are like parks and there's a lot of greenery. I'm into that as well right now too. Maybe it's homesickness, who knows? But yeah,
Or you're starting to sound like an LA girl now.
I am.
Yeah, for sure. The thrift shops and the beaches and everything. You're starting to settle right in. That's
Mhm.
good though, that I guess you're kind of like learning to, I guess like assimilate a little bit without like losing your sense of self or like your core
Yeah.
personality. You know, that's fantastic. That's what's up. Well, the
Mhm.
artist way, so who wrote that?
That is Julia Cameron. If I'm remembering, I mixed up Julie and Julia, but I think it's Julia Cameron. This is my
Or
second time reading.
second time, damn.
I'm like, okay, it didn't work so well the first time because I finished it probably in May. Yeah. So of last year, but yeah, May hasn't come yet. I finished it in May, and of course, I just moved here and all that craziness. So I'm like, why isn't this working? Maybe I just had more stuff to unpack, which I think was true. I think, yeah, if I can find a silver lining in like the craziness of last year, it would be like some hard truths that I was avoiding. I had to come to terms with like certain relationships I was having, like the dynamics of them, and just like trying to pretend everything was good. Sometimes it's not good, and sometimes you need to change it. Sometimes pretending everything's wonderful isn't gonna help. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like I feel like I spent uh maybe the like majority or the greater part of the last decade kind of perfecting the art of like faking it till I make it. But going through this part of my life, I kind of feel like that's almost a shortcut to truly, like establishing my self-esteem as like a strong pillar, of confidence
Mhm.
that can't really be shaken. So I could definitely kind of understand that. But do you want to, let's go deeper, you know what I'm saying? Like what, you said some truths that you were trying to kind of accept. Is there
Oh,
anything specific, you know what I'm saying, that you feel like was, really, really trying, or even like a triumph where you feel like there was something that was really difficult to accept, but you were able to kind of swallow that pill whole, you know what I'm saying, and use that process for the greater good for your artistry.
okay. I think there's some stuff that I can't speak on, but I will say one thing for sure is like really just accepting the fact that sometimes people are jealous, and it's easy to see when it's Eminem or Doechii or like. Beyonce, like those people, okay, they have their careers, but at one point, nobody knew who they were, and they were being, well, not Beyonce. Beyonce aside, Doechii and Eminem for sure. They got bullied a lot. They were disrespected a lot. Doechii was suicidal. Like, so there were people trying to humble them and make them feel like shit. And I feel like sometimes when you're around so many people who feel like they're conspiring against you, then you start to think you're the problem. But sometimes it really is nothing you've done and people are jealous. So trying to get back into like stuff that I used to like I was criticized for how I dressed at my university. Shout out to USD. I was criticized. I was criticized for like everything I did, for facial expressions I made or didn't make, or not being the happiest, or this or that. And starting to think it was something wrong with me. It's like, no, this is a predominantly white institution. You're a pretty black girl. They don't want to see you win. That's nothing that's your fault. They're going to sabotage you. And I think that's why you see so few black women in like classical music or like in these fields. Like it's definitely, I don't know, it just feels like sabotage. And then I look at jazz too, and it's like, as much as it's cool that it's diversifying, I start to see black people dwindling again. I'm like, what are the dynamics in place uh, that's making it so that you don't see black people in these arts? I think black people are always part of classical music, but I have a lot of opinions that aren't mainstream about where blackness was in Europe and other places. Remember, they said the first black people in Europe had I mean, the first people in Europe had dark skin. Um, Stuff like that. I don't know. I just had to accept, yeah, I'm pretty. I don't want to let these people win. And I'm the one who's miserable and depressed because they wanted me to feel like shit. And then I was just watching the telepathy or listening to the telepathy tape before this interview, and they were talking about how truly like we're all connected. There are people seeing with blindfolds on, their eyes closed, they're able to vividly see color. And I know this is a digression, but the point of that is their point about being able to see, like blind people being literally able to see colors, which I didn't think was possible. They said we're all connected. So if they're hurting me, like, they really are hurting themselves. Like if people are shitty to you, it's going to hurt them eventually. And I think that too is helping me deal with the trauma of what happened.
Word. Okay, that makes I'm glad that you were able to like process all that, and you didn't just get stuck in the "all people are treating me bad," palette of emotions. You were able to like process and dissect those emotions, and then either use them, for your greater good, like funnel those emotions into your art, or you just were able to kind of just process them or subjugate whatever you had to do to get past them. It seems like you figured
Yeah.
it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but it's tough. I feel like. I grew up in the Midwest, and as I started moving around, I definitely, it became ingrained, in my mental that, yeah, like humans are just the descendants of chimps, man. Like, we're just animals,
Hey, we are.
you know what I'm saying? We're just animals, and like, definitely within the music industry, there's definitely like a dominance hierarchy, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I feel like in academia, it's tough because I feel like people like they use academia as like a color filter to filter out, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't the black population in academia because I feel like those are usually your higher performers. Those are the people that they're siphoning all the creative juices from. You know what I'm saying? But they don't, it's just like it's all about money, you know what I'm saying? If they start to let go of control or let go of their, I guess, position in a dominance hierarchy, you know what I'm saying? And they maybe feel like they won't be able to feed their families. Like they really see black people as a threat, to their well-being, So there's really people like that. Unfortunately, it's not all sweet out there. But yeah, I agree with
Mm.
you when you're talking about I think it's more difficult for rappers or maybe just like black males in the music industry to kind of talk about the more, negative experiences or negative emotions that they experienced on their come up because like, especially rappers
It's
always
braggadocious.
trying to display this air of bravado, you know what I'm saying, and keep it macho. But yeah, like I feel like that's the difference, right? Is I feel like the difference between the people who make it and the people who succumb, you know what I'm saying, to the lesser emotions of trying to come up. Like I feel like the people who make it kind of have this um like they're not maybe not predisposed, but they develop, some sort like a thick skin and they're
Some are
able to
predisposed.
yeah, I
But
don't know.
yeah.
But they're able to like do the right thing when it's the harder thing to do. And then that process of like training yourself to do the right thing when it's the harder thing to do, whether that means wake up a little bit earlier so you have time to work on like an hour's more like worth
Mm,
to work on your music, or whether it means, showing up to the studio on time, you know what I'm saying? Or whether it means just being cordial with somebody who you really don't necessarily get along with, but it is necessary for you to be mature, you know what I'm saying, a professional with dealing with them in a professional environment or in a work situation. Like I feel like those are the people that condition themselves to continue to show up for themselves. Like, you know what I'm saying? It gives you the perseverance necessary when you're able to do all the little things like in that way. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you're someone who's kind of, if you didn't already have that mindset and that thick skin, like LA is kind of helping to refine and develop that aspect of your personality. You know what I'm saying? So that's good to hear that you're
thank
able
you.
to push through. And once you get through like a couple of those situations, I feel like you show yourself that you can, and there's no reason for you to ever quit. You know what I'm saying? So that's good news. You feel me?
Mhm.
Yo, so what is this telepathy? What is it called? Telepathy tape.
Telepathy
Yeah,
types.
yeah.
So, um, okay. I was like, where do I start? It's about like autistic children. I know this probably has nothing to do with my music yet. Maybe it will in the future, but I've always been into like woo-woo stuff. So like tarot and astrology. Um, I remember this guy, Andre Barbeau, predicted COVID 20 years ago. But moving on from that, so the telepathy tapes is about these autistic children, like the nonverbal kinds, the ones who just really like we would consider our society, them being the ones with the most needs. But then they were able to get them to what is it? There's like some spelling, like they just use their hand. So they have issues with like their motor control, like that's what it is. And once they were able to get them to spell out stuff, some of them were saying, "Hey, I'm psychic. I can hear your thoughts," like crazy shit like that. So they started testing these kids, and there's some truth to it. So this woman, Kai, she's been going around like seeing, like, okay, maybe consciousness comes first because in I think it's the what is it? The Descartes hierarchy is where it's like it's the matter comes first and then consciousness blooms. But with them, it's like no, consciousness first and then matter comes through. And it's almost as if our bodies are just like a filter where we can listen to certain frequencies on the radio, and that's all it really is. And like what are ways we can improve our own like innate psychic abilities, our own empathic abilities, like that kind of thing. And I don't know, like just hearing about life like that. And it's funny because Kai says something that's almost exactly what Julia Cameron says in The Artist's Way. She's like, creativity is like pretty much the natural order of life. Everything's creativity. She says God's gift to us is creativity. They both said it. And I'm like, isn't that funny that I'm reading this book right now? And I've been listening to this podcast. I never listened. This is the first podcast I've listened to, and even that's hilarious because I was listening to a tarot reading online. I said, I miss tarot. Let's just listen to tarot again. And this girl, Anita Serene, says, you're going to listen to podcasts. I was like, okay. Here I'm listening to a podcast. Here she's saying the same thing Julie Cameron's saying in her book. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, it makes life feel more magical. And I think I need that right now. I think that's fun to have. Yeah.
Yeah, serendipity and surprise and everything. And yeah, I feel like it's good that you're able to kind of like find the common denominators amongst all these different voices and influences that you're consuming right now, because those are usually the most, whatever the common denominator is usually the most poignant, has the most poignancy and the most utility, you know what I'm saying, in your life. So that's what's up. that you're able to sift through, everything and kind of figure that out. And you're still spiritually open, you know what I'm saying, to
Because I
influence
wasn't.
the higher frequency. Oh, you said you weren't?
For a minute there. I'm
Damn.
like, why are all these awful things happening all the time? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
even outside of our species. It's like, oh my God, like the other animals, and like they're talking about mass extinction and stuff. It's like, if consciousness comes first, then it's really on us to, especially humans, I will say, not like all the species, but us specifically, we need to get back into spirituality. I even think that like it makes me think of you in Los Angeles. Like you were probably picking up on a lot of like unhappy energy. I could just be wrong, but maybe that's what it was there. It's like this congested kind of energy that you have to navigate here.
Yeah, for me personally, like I've definitely discovered that I have to rid myself of all distractions so that my antenna for those frequencies is most well in tune. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like it was due to necessary or like unfortunate, excuse me, unfortunate circumstance that I didn't have distractions, at least like tangible physical distractions when I was in Los Angeles. Like I didn't have like really proper employment or anything like that. So it gave me
Just
the
such
room, you know what I'm saying, to really, really be in tune with just the waves, just like really, really in tune with yeah, picking up on any frequencies, negative or positive, you know what I'm saying? And it gave me more time to emotionally process those frequencies and kind of develop a like a way, like methodology for being able to interpret those frequencies and kind of determine how they were influencing my actions or my consciousness, you
mm,
know what I'm saying? And then figure out a course of action for what I needed to do next. But it wasn't the first time. I don't know. I think every artist, you know what I'm saying, especially I guess I'll say the people that are further along in their careers are like maybe artists who are like a little bit more well developed, the better the artist you are, the stronger I feel like your antenna is,
mm,
for picking up these frequencies. But I'm always working on that. I'm working on just using social media less. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on just ridding myself of distractions. I don't drink, I don't smoke. You know what I'm saying? I try to just to rid myself of all poisons, and keep my consumption as pure as possible, especially with what I'm listening to specifically, because I feel like as
mm,
a music artist, that being like my main medium for communication is like really, really super duper important to purify my oral palette. You know what I'm saying? Be super duper careful of what I listen to, both like in headphones or like musically or otherwise. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, I was kind of concerned about you. I'm not even gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? Because you were just dealing with a lot of negativity. I've been there too, where you feel like you can't really see the bright light at the end of the tunnel. You might be just depressed, you know what I'm saying, just going through it, but I'm happy to hear that you figured it out, you know what I'm saying?
hey,
Yeah.
but this is rock bottom. I'm like, so we're still getting back up. Won't say it's all in the clear, but I'm trying. But I
Okay.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
I mean,
likewise, yeah, you look like you're in a good place. I'm happy about that. Not,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm always good now, you know what I'm saying? But it took me I was telling somebody recently that it was more than hitting rock bottom because the type of person I am, I love drama. So like the
What?
drama, yeah. The type of person now I try to like contain that energy and that kind of affinity for drama to just like music and my art. But I think I'm just naturally like a bored person. I get bored super duper easily. So the drama of rock bottom is what kept me there. But then the just like staying at rock bottom, I got bored with it. And then that's what kind of like
Mm,
motivated me to move out of that space actually.
mm.
So yeah, for me it took a little bit more than just being in rock bottom to, get me to move forward with my life. But no, like I'm always good. I think I was always moody and like super duper.
That's Trey Moody.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of like a little emo kid at one point, I think
Me
maybe like a
too.
decade ago, but now I'm usually it's not that I don't, I think I just kind of suppress that side of myself and try to just channel it into my art. But yeah, usually day by day, I'm in pretty good spirits. So I've learned to just
Yeah.
laugh at most shit. So yeah.
I mean, I, I was gonna ask, but silly if you wore the all black too, because I used to wear the all black with the blacklist.
Yeah, it was a transition for me. I used to dress like really, really eccentrically. You know, maybe when I was like 18 through 21, I like used to wear dashikis and a lot of like bright colors and a lot of like floral and how do you say like tropical, you know what I'm
Like that
saying?
Hawaiian kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of type patterns. But then, yeah, like
Okay.
I remember
Okay.
when I moved to New York, I started to get way more emo with it. And yo, don't tell anybody about. I used to paint my nails black and shit. Like
Period.
I was
Period.
at, yeah, I was at. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Cool. I think that's cool. Yeah.
I'm glad you think that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, wait. So you're from Maryland?
Hmm.
Okay, where? What part of Maryland are you from?
I'm from Silver Spring, so that's like the suburbs. Whenever people ask me where I'm from in Maryland, they'll assume that I'm from DC, like because it's the DMV area. They'll assume I'm closer to DC or Baltimore. Baltimore is the one I always get. So I guess they just see black woman in Baltimore. It's like no. I was at an event with a guy who's from Baltimore. Actually, I was doing an open mic, and he was the comedian. He was like, "Oh, you're from Maryland too?" Because I cheered in the audience when he said Maryland. They said, "Oh, Silver Spring." It's like, and he's like, "Oh, like you're not one of us. You didn't grow up in the hood type shit." No, I didn't grow up in the hood. Uh, I wouldn't say because I had immigrant parents. I wouldn't say like my childhood was like Ashley Banks. I would say Ashley Banks meets Matilda. It was my childhood, like this really precocious kid nerdy glasses and braces. That kind of thing. Like, no street smarts. Yeah, that was
Mhm.
what it was like. I had my girl Aria Kaba or Fatu. And me and my twin sister and her, we would dress up. We would match like every day we would match. And like we had black and pink Fridays and stuff. Very like clueless coded type behavior. Yeah.
Okay, word. So like in contrast to like the LA culture, the LA vibe, the LA scene. What is the culture like, you know, where you grew up?
The culture in Maryland. I think it's much safer there. I think there's still, or at least when I was there, because things are changing a little, but there was still the social contract. Like I told people, I left my purse, my wallet, and everything in a store. I literally forgot, like just left it in this restaurant. Went home, realized it was missing later on, drove back, went to the restaurant and it was still there untouched. No one did anything to it. And that's not something that would happen in Los Angeles. Um, it has a lot of wealthy Black people. Like, I think the population is 30% Black. And a lot of those Black people are in positions, like higher positions. So even though it's still the USA, there's still like the legacy of race, but there it's not really like as much where you have to prove yourself. Like when you show up in the room, it's not like, okay, let me prove that I'm worth this or whatever. Like, let me show you that I'm intelligent. It's just you are who you are. And I guess I'm going to have to learn in Los Angeles to be able to walk in a room confident, even if people aren't really expecting the best from me out the gate, which I didn't have to do in Maryland because I was just the nerdy smart girl or whatever. Yeah. Um, that very cold half the year, but a lot of nature. Um, yeah, I don't know, just more slow pace, um, less people. Like if you want to go for a walk, you're not going to see too many people. I could walk late at night and not really be worried. It was only over time that it started to get dangerous, but for a long while there, I could do those things completely safe. Yeah.
Hmm. All right, wait. So like more social trust and comfort, more comfort in your environment out in
Mhm.
Maryland. I can understand that for sure. So how did you out in Maryland, like how did you get your start? in music or on the music scene, or like were you on the scene, or was it more so just something you was working on like just at the crib on your own, or like how'd you get started with music out there?
There it was so quick, and that's what's so mad. Like, like me and my sister, we just were, I think it was like our senior year. We were vibing because we were doing that whole, we were dressing up for two. Like we were just really like, I guess in our feminine era, like we were glowing. So there was like this thing called Taking Back Our Community in downtown Silver Spring. That's like the city part of Maryland, I guess, or it's near DC, but it's not really DC. So that's like the most city point of that place. And so uh, one day we were chilling there, and they were asking people, "Oh, do you want to sing?" And then we started singing,
Hmm.
and people were freaking out. There were two people who wanted to be our manager. We liked this one guy, but our dad, who is not the greatest dad. He told us to go with a guy who ended up being verbally abusive and stuff. But in spite of that, even though he wasn't the nicest manager and stuff, me and my sister, I'll say, because it was us who were in that shit, because it was our voices that were in that shit. We were able to perform on an international radio station. Somebody spotted us just singing on the street one of our original songs. And yeah, we sang on Voice of America, and that was in the course of just a few months. So there was that big boom, and then like it slowly, gradually petered down. Yeah, but I think that was a great start, at least something to show that it's possible. Yeah, like 17 or 18 years old. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So
Mhm.
your community, like as a collective spirit, kind of put you on, kind of found
Mhm.
you, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
they came to you, discovered you, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And okay, showed you that you could do it. Word. Okay. That's what's up. That's what's
But
up.
I wish they still did that. They should bring back taking back our community.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a lot of dancers there. It was just a nice vibe. Yeah, we needed that. I think we need more of that in
Okay.
general. Yeah,
So how did you go from, being discovered like out and about in your community to you went to school, right, for classical voice. How
classical
did you go
singing.
from that to like applying, auditioning and everything for school?
Ooh, it's just been sort of universe only. Um, after we stopped working with our crooked manager, it's like our dad and our mom kind of gave up. Not, I won't say my mom because she wasn't really involved, but they stopped putting in the effort to like help us further our career there. It was like if the manager's gone, you can't do it, which isn't true. We were capable of doing it. We could have done that ourselves. Then my sister met Carolyn Malachi and this other artist named Tolumide at a Grammy event. And we started, no, 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 no. She met Tolumide at a Grammy event. But Carolyn Malachi was another one of those serendipitous situations. We were going to an open mic and she spotted us. We were like the last to perform. We almost didn't make it. Um, and Carolyn was like, "How would you like to sing backup for me?" So we started doing that for a bit. That petered more. After one event, we bombed um, because one of us, I'm not going to say, yeah, one of us wasn't singing in key. So after that, she was like, not hiring me. I don't know if it was a form of self sabotage or what, but that happened. And so things dwindled down more from there. And I was going to give up. I was just going to do politics. Um, so I went to Montgomery College and I was planning on doing this political career because I guess I'm into that. One of my professors a while back before I dropped out, oh God, my life is all over the place. I dropped out of Seton Hall University. One of my professors there thought I was a polymath, which is somebody who's just interested in all subjects, which is true. Like, which is why you see me connecting weird shit that nothing to do with each other. But so I was gonna do politics. And I was gonna double major with music, but at Montgomery College you can only choose one major. I was like, fuck it, I'll just go with music. And I remember the woman who told me to choose, she was like, "You lit up when you said music." It's like, yeah. So, So then I practice all the Mozart songs. Fellow Aquarius, uh, practice all his songs because we were supposed to do a choir piece, his Requiem, and just started getting more into classical music. And I thought that would be a fun place to go because when I was really little, me and my sister, we would listen to Sirius XM, like the classical station. And it's just such a Disney-fied cutesy thing. Like I don't know. I feel like classical music has more than it realizes, in that it seems magical and romantic and kind of larger than life. And when you're singing that, you kind of feel like you're a princess, which is a really nice thing to feel for a Black girl in the United States. Like you don't really get that feeling often. So getting to dress up in these glamorous pieces and just sing in this very pretty way, I thought was fun. Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, I didn't know that you had been like a poli sci major and like dropped out, but it kind of makes sense that, I feel like connecting the dots between a bunch of different disciplines or between, different mediums is the essence of creativity. So that doesn't surprise me at all, what I'm saying, that's the way your mind and spirit was working at that time. And yeah, like I feel like yeah, maybe you had like a because you that doesn't surprise me also because like I feel like you've all like every time that you're talking about politics, like you have been able to very fluently, concisely, and effectively use your words to articulate sometimes some very like complicated ideology or complicated dogmatics, you know what I'm saying? So that and you're very opinionated, you know what I'm saying? And you know your stances, you're very confident in the way you articulate yourself when it comes to politics, especially amongst other
Thank
things. So
you.
that definitely makes, not trying to hype your head or anything, but that definitely makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Definitely makes sense. And yeah, like I could
Wait, that
see.
is already big already. No, stop. I
Nah, you're
appreciate
good.
it. Oh, I
You're
appreciate it.
good. Yeah. So, but no, it makes sense that yeah, that all definitely lines up. That aligns. And yeah, like I guess we've all had to make choices sometimes between maybe things that we're only passionate about versus things that we're only gifted at,
Mhm.
versus things that we're gifted and passionate, about. So I'm glad that you chose music for real. That's good.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I see the romanticism in classical music, and I've never really thought about that before. That was definitely kind of a moment of enlightenment when you said like, oh yeah, like you said, classical music as a black girl makes you feel like a princess, and maybe in a specific way that no other context could kind of conjure up that specific set of emotions. So that's what's up. Yeah, I feel like me when I was like playing jazz music, it did make me feel like a king, it made me feel yeah, it was very, very ethereal, very, very, otherworldly, especially, the influences of the music of people like Thelonious Monk or John Coltrane. Like these dudes were titans to me. These dudes were gods, just intellectually, artistically, charismatically, everything. So I wanted to be as much like them as possible, and it definitely was. Part of it was escapism for me at the time, kind of escaping how I felt about my environment or how I felt about, my just, yeah, having like maybe about the rougher aspects of my childhood. Like I might have been using jazz as a method of escapism, but the in the way that I was pretending to be, like maybe I was pretending to be a king or a god or some sort of transcendent artist at the time, I actually started to become those things, the more that I pretended to be through the
Maybe
medium.
you weren't pretending. Maybe you're
Exactly.
just rediscovering.
That's what I came to realize, so that's kind of what always keeps me going, when it comes to art and music, is that there is like a transformation process of becoming, throughout the narrative. So that's what's
Mhm.
up.
It's interesting you said like escapism too, because I was deep in it. Because for me, I was thinking classical music was kind of an escape too. But I'm like, kind of, I guess that is what music kind of is. It is escapism, isn't it? Like, I think like most people who come into art, it is like originally to escape something. I don't know. It's like you really just need a place to just, yeah, get it all out on the page or to get it all out on the mic or, yeah.
100%. I've seen it as like me creating a room, whether it's like just a studio or sometimes it's my bedroom, sometimes it's a concert hall, sometimes it's like an outdoor space, but it's still like this, enclosed space that I'm like inviting somebody in for like, 3 or 4 minutes just so they could experience, like kind of take a walk, and maybe who I am or like my shoes. For a few minutes, or even maybe take a walk in the shoes of the person that I'm pretending to be, So it is like I feel like I see it as sometimes I see it as distraction, but sometimes I want for my music to allow people to like let the emotions that they've been subjugating and suppressing surface so they could face their emotions head on. I feel like John Coltrane was kind of the person that kind of introduced me to that ideology of not being avoidant, but just confronting, your fears and emotions and the things that's holding you back head on, just dealing with them, what I'm saying, getting past them. That story, that narrative, I guess the conflict of man versus self, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Oh, no, you gotta elaborate for me, man versus self.
Yeah, so like in I guess this is more like a literary kind of this is literary ideology, but there's like a bunch of different conflicts that could be introduced throughout the span of a literary work. There's man versus machine, as you see in, I don't know, like maybe it's books like what, Ender's Game,
Like,
or
it's been
stuff
such
like
a while
that.
ago. I
You
vaguely
got
remember
you
Man
got
versus Machine.
Man versus Machine, or maybe like movies like The Matrix, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's man
Yeah.
versus machine, or like Minority Report, man versus machine. And then you got like man versus man, you know what I'm saying, which is a pretty typical conflict that you could see between any like, human protagonist and antagonist. I can't think of any really good examples, but there's a ton of those throughout literature, like maybe Grapes of Wrath, man versus man. Then you
Wouldn't
got
that be like Civil War, Captain America Civil War maybe?
all of those, yeah,
Or Black Panther.
Yeah, all of those definitely man versus man, and then man versus self. That's probably my favorite one, honestly, is man versus self, because I feel like it always comes down to that. Like it's never man to me. Like in my own life, I feel like that's the most efficient way, of solving conflicts is letting it kind of boil down to like it's always man versus self. You know what I'm saying? It's always my responsibility to solve the problem or to move forward. And I could never really um, outsource any responsibility, when it comes to solving problems in my own life locally. So it's man versus self. I think there's man versus nature too, which like the movie Twister, would be an example of that. So
I
yeah,
think
but
today's an example of that. Ooh,
yeah, for real,
we're
definitely.
not gonna win.
Yeah, it's pretty windy. But yeah, my favorite is definitely man versus self.
Oh, okay. If I get what you're saying with that, then I think probably that too is something I'm relating to, especially because my twin now, she's schizophrenic. And I've just with everything I've been like learning about right now and just dealing with, in quantum physics, they say even if there's like one point and there's another point that's very distant away, like they can still affect each other. It's
Yeah.
like, how much am I being affected by the fact that I no longer have a twin? Because I, I don't know, like there are just like so many health benefits to being near that person that I now don't have. This is somebody you shared a room with. Like you literally were the same person at one point and I'm wondering how much of my health suffered because of that. And then I think about two events I had that showed like some form of psychic ability, which I think everyone has. People gonna think I'm crazy. That's fine. I'm saying anyway. But there's one moment where I was talking to this guy I know in Maryland named Daryl. Fuck it. Daryl Davis. He befriended Klan members and he made them stop being racist. That Daryl Davis who performed with Chuck Berry. But he wrote something down on a piece of paper. and he tested us to see if we were able to figure out what it was. And at first, both of us couldn't figure out what vegetable he wrote down. And so one of us said grape and the other said fruit, grapefruit. And then after a while, just completely just like exasperated, I said carrot. And then he opens the paper and it said carrot on it.
Mm,
So, and then there was another time because I um, love doing tarot readings and testing because I still wanted to do it with scientific accuracy. So I'd write down today this is going to happen, today that's going to happen, and I would do it for weeks ahead to see what was going to happen each day. And there was one day I got these cards, but then I remember on the day I said, "Mom, I have a bad feeling about this day," but I got the wrong sibling. I was like, "I'm worried about my little brother." My sister, days later, on that same day I was worried about, she got into a car crash. And days before, I'm sitting here saying something's wrong. So that still shows in some way we're connected. Like we used to finish each other's sentences type shit. So man versus self for me is trying to be an individual without my twin because it's really weird not having that person anymore and moving through life because I feel like a lot of the slights of life I was able to buffer because we would have these long intellectual conversations. I feel like I lost my intelligence and I'm trying to regain it back because I have nobody to bounce these ideas off of anymore. It's just me. Yeah.
wow, yeah, that's powerful. I believe in this, this kind of serendipity or this telepathy 100% and like the quantum particle theory and everything. Like this is science, the way I see it. But I could only imagine, what it's like to have, another human being who your identity is literally tethered to, like down to the DNA. You guys' sequences is literally identical. So I could only imagine what it's like, you know what I'm saying, to be physically separated or emotionally, spiritually feel a
Kind
disconnect.
of like, yeah.
Yeah, from somebody who you literally are tethered to, for life. So that's really interesting. Yeah, I really believe in, you know, my sister had the same ability to be able to like anticipate or predict when one of our family members was about to go through an ailment or, you know what I'm saying, anything like that. So I definitely have witnessed this
Some
gift.
crazy,
Yeah,
yeah. Like
personally.
timelessness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really interesting. Yeah, like there is this sense of, yeah, I think Einstein had that theory, right? That the present, the future, and the past are actually all synonymous. It's just the way as humans we perceive them as some sort of linear, narrative as opposed to everything being cohesively, as one. So
Mm,
yeah, these theories are like really, really interesting to me. That's like really, yeah, it blows my mind. It like
right.
really, it gives me chills just thinking about the transcendence of nature and the way humans interact with, these laws of nature. You feel me? But dang,
Mhm.
wow. Okay. Wait, so did you do 4 years at the what school did you go to?
It's been, see, because I went to Seton Hall for a minute right after high school, dropped out because we couldn't afford it. So then later on, I went to Montgomery College back in Maryland. That was a community college. And then I transferred to University of San Diego.
Oh,
And
okay.
the only good thing that came out of that school was meeting my first love. That was it. Other than that, okay, there are a couple great teachers. So I'm lying. There were a couple great teachers. There were some good moments, but yeah,
I understand that. I can relate to that. Yeah, I didn't know that you were in San Diego. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I've been to
yeah,
San Diego one time and I really enjoyed it. Like I remember going out on the town. Like I think I was only there for a couple nights. One of the nights I went out on the town, everybody was like super duper, like communal, super duper, friendly, and amicable and hospitable. I had fun. It was like really relaxing actually. So
that
that's
was not
cool.
my experience. But I'm glad
Really?
that was your experience.
Okay.
That was the stressful school for me.
Stressful. I think
Yeah,
school in
even off
general.
campus.
Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
people trying to humble me a lot. Yeah, it
I can
was
see it
not
being a
pleasant.
competitive environment. I feel like music school could be like that, you
Yeah,
know.
any school too. There's some YouTube channel called Professor John Clips or something like that, and he was talking about how at I think it was Harvard or Princeton, like it makes you feel like you're in the Hunger Games. So I think that's all universities in a sense, because you are competing to get jobs to survive outside school. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. It's kind of gonna be. It's
Yeah.
gonna feel intense like that.
I feel like especially, secondary education is like the last chance for the system, like the final threshold for them to mold you into a worker, to
Mm,
pacify and turn you into a submissive worker before you hit the workforce. So,
that's
yeah.
never gonna be me. So,
Facts, you know what I'm
I
saying? I'm not
can't.
exactly. I'm not here for it. I got a rebellious spirit. You
Yeah.
feel me? Like I don't fit in with the worker identity. You know what I'm saying? But so like I feel like all right, so you specifically, I feel like are really, really good at singing a cappella, as opposed to a lot of other, especially pop singers, that I've heard or work with that I feel like are a lot more comfortable with a band or a lot more comfortable with a backing track. Do you feel like your strength and independence comes from like that classical environment where you probably had to practice, independent of tracks or backing bands, just kind of backing bands or tracks, just like probably just in a practice room by yourself a lot of the time just learning how to be in tune with your own, voice and like kind of developing your own aesthetic like in a vacuum. Like is that maybe where that strength and independence comes from or where did you develop that? Or
I
is it
guess. Hmm. Um, I mean, I think part of it would be classical music, just the technique of it, like making sure I stay really in tune. It's still the bane of my existence that the iPhone camera, like it cannot, or the recorder cannot pick up certain frequencies as well. So I'll sound out of tune when I play back with a band. But when I'm singing with like just me, it's very in tune. So I would say that was classical music, that was sight singing, like lessons, but also as the emo girl I was, I spent a lot of time walking around in nature, singing to myself like for hours and hours, like self-soothing. Um, Sometimes I wonder if that's something that I picked up on my ancestors with. Because, people would be singing while they worked, like they would just be singing day long out to cope. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and I wonder if that's why I do that. So like in the throes of my pain, I just sing to myself. So because nobody's gonna follow me with like the band while I'm walking in the street. So it's just me singing, singing, singing. So I guess that intimate moment with myself when I'm on stage, it's easier to do that.
Where so you feel like you're closer to some sort of source, whether that be through, kind of getting in tune with your ancestors out in nature or just practicing kind of in a vacuum, without the influence of backing tracks or without the influence of other musicians or sounds. Like you're able to kind of, yeah, like understand your own harmonic frequency and do what you need to do to make sure this as self-soothing or pleasing to yourself, what I'm saying, as possible. That definitely makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite classical works that you feel like kind of gravitate towards or that you like to perform?
Because I put so much of that behind me that I kind of
Right.
like blocked it out, but it's coming back up. Um, I think I liked I can only figure out the starting line. So that one, La Chanson d'Olympia, that one, I can't remember the exact title for it. Il est doux, il est bon. I would sing that all the time about my crush at that university. I was like, it's a French song. They're like, oh, quand reviendra-t-il? When is he coming back? When am I going to see him again?
Uh,
Oh, yeah. Um, so that, I did like Carmen. I think Carmen was the first introduction I had to like classical music and film because they had, and I didn't forget this. I was a little child when I saw it. They had this scene where they were predicting a reading for her, and then they found out that she was gonna die. And I couldn't figure out the movie. Later on, when I was practicing L'amour est un oiseau rebelle, um, I I watched that again and I was like, this is probably a scene I saw when I was a kid that I couldn't figure out what the movie's from. Because back when we had Bunny or TV, you couldn't go, oh, what film is this? And then find it back again. So yeah, that those three, um, there's a depressing one. But anyway, yeah, there are a couple, but I would say those are my top three.
Okay, bet. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I never heard you sing opera before. Yeah, you got a lot of control in that range in that register. That makes sense. That's like a whole
Thank you.
different side of your personality too that comes across. That's what's up. So then how did you transfer from like, academia and the classical realm? How'd you get into like pop music and what you're doing now?
I love pop music. I was always into pop music for sure. Because I was a high school musical girly. I don't know. I just loved pop music. I liked Kelly Clarkson and Avril Lavigne, and yeah. So it wasn't even a transition. It was just like I guess like going back to that part of me. But now I guess with more experience in classical music. But yeah, definitely yeah, that's always been in me. Me and my twin would sing Lemonade constantly, like religiously. We would sing the whole album through. Yeah, yeah.
Wait, that makes sense that you've always, had an affinity for the pop aesthetic. Because I remember we was in the car on the way to the studio, and I had like the Kiss FM radio station on in the car, and you knew like all of the songs, like all of the melodies and all like every lyric to like every song on the radio, all the Billie Eilish, all the Bad Bunny, like you knew all the words. I was like, damn, she's done her homework.
Thank you. I was shocked. I didn't know. I didn't know I knew as much as I knew. Because sometimes I feel like with music now, like the way TikTok is, and I don't have a TikTok. Like I'd be missing out on some of those. So it's nice to know like I still got a repertoire in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I always feel like there's more to learn.
you definitely seemed up to date with like, what's on the radio and everything. Yeah, you're with the current, so that's what's up. So then like did you go straight from San Diego to LA or how did you make your way to LA after school?
Yeah, I went straight here. It was just, yeah, it was very unprepared. And I think that's made everything harder than it needed to be. But at least that showed me I'm tougher than I realized. Yeah. And people say that too. Like people say that I seem like I got a fighter spirit. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, because when I'm not in survival mode, I'm not gonna be. But I guess maybe that survival mode fighter will always stay. Maybe I just need to find a balance of like when to be tough and when to be soft. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's well articulated. Definitely. I think that that's a big part of what art is all about is kind of striking that balance. But yeah, I feel like definitely you must have a fighter spirit because I feel like any other girl from the burbs, like especially of the burbs at the East Coast, you know what I'm saying, would have quit after having been through some of the stuff that you went through when you first got out to LA. Like I know it's a culture shock for you, but I'm also like a big advocate for just diving in head first. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And kind
So
of
you would have done you would have done the same thing.
yeah, like when I moved to New York, I something happened to me, which I won't get into right now, when I was like back home. And I was like, all right, that's it. Like, you only live once, you know what I'm saying? It's now or never. So I just kind of didn't really have a concrete plan. I had worked, I think at Jimmy John's, I had been delivering sandwiches for a few months at the end of, in my last semester at school. So I saved up a little bit of money. I probably had like $2,000 saved up, which was really only enough to pay like one month's rent in New York, you know what I'm saying? But I literally just packed my shit up, you know what I'm saying? And got driven up to New York and just I stayed with some people I went to school with for a minute. I was just standing in their living room, just sleeping on a mattress. I found a job in the neighborhood and I was bussing tables, you know what I mean? And I just kind of went from there. And yeah, it was, man, anybody who knew me or who thought that they knew me, You know what I'm saying? When I first when I first moved to New York, could definitely tell you, like they probably didn't know if I was gonna make it. It was definitely tough for me for those first couple years, but maybe I got a fighter spirit like you know what I'm saying? Because I kind of finally figured it out after some months, you know, after a couple years for real. But yeah, I do think to live in a place as cutthroat as like a New York or Los Angeles, you do need that fighter spirit, especially if you're coming in, you know, relatively with a more flexible plan, we'll say, without like a lot of connections. If you didn't have like, you know, a rich uncle in the entertainment industry or something like that, you know what I'm saying? You just kind of,
As we all do, right? No,
yeah,
like, so
just kind of starting from the bottom until you're here, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, like that's tough to do. You know, what were some of the like within those first few months, what were some of the most like trying experiences that you had?
Hmm. I think just first of all, feeling because I was already burned out from university because it wasn't a positive experience. So just feeling low and having to do that, not really having any help with like apartment searches or anything. Um, yeah, and then just struggling with faith, like I did lose belief in God because it felt like everything I was praying for at that time was either not happening or something bad was happening. Like I would say, like it always feels like there's a catch, like those catch 22s. Like I can't just have something be good just for the sake of it being good. And really just wanting somebody there to like support me. I maybe it is because I'm a twin and I haven't been alone, just wanting somebody to have my back and realizing there really was no one and how to move through that. Yeah, just learning how to, I guess, man versus self. Man versus self. Yeah.
100% developing that sense of independence, you know what I'm saying? Just like you got
Mm.
your music, you know, you're able to sing a cappella, but letting that energy translate, you know what I'm saying, into your normal life and your everyday hustle, you know what I'm saying? That makes sense for real. But you were telling me that, you know, you got your clothes, you know what I'm saying? They were
My
what happened
favorite
with that?
clothing stolen.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I didn't even I think I was even in a place where I was just trying to, yeah, I was really just trying to pretend everything was wonderful. Listening to a few too many of those, like Neville Goddard kind of manifestation videos, or it's like just think positive. And the way I was interpreting the viral at the time, like that turn the other cheek, just keep thinking good, keep thinking good. I'm like, well, I'm trying to believe in the goodness of people, this and that. Why is all this horrible stuff happening? So my mom encouraged me to make an irresponsible decision. She just told me to ask like some random moving guy, like go with someone cheap to move my clothing. Well, they stole some of my clothing because I went with someone cheap. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know. I was just in such a state of fight or flight that I couldn't even really grasp, hey, like, defend yourself. Like, it wasn't really something that I could even think of at that point because I was just so traumatized at the time. I am somebody who's really, really sensitive to my environment. I have ASMR. So that means, and not those, everybody talks about those whisper videos on YouTube. That's not what ASMR is. That's content for people with ASMR. But what ASMR itself is every region of my brain is connected to each other. When you're a baby in the womb, it's supposed to detach. Mine doesn't detach. So if somebody says something hurtful to me, and other people are going to say, yes, this happened to me too, but it's different with someone with ASMR. If someone with ASMR says something hurtful, I'm going to physically feel it. Like it's not going to be the same. Or when somebody says something nice to me, my head tingles. That's how you know you have ASMR. And it's not just somebody saying something sweet, it's a sincerity. If somebody is genuinely sincere with me, my whole head will tingle. Like when they're genuinely caring for me. And the thing I find interesting with this, and I am digressing again, that's just how I am, Virgo rising. But the thing about that I think is so interesting, and the way we talk about mental health and mental illnesses and personalities. I remember there's this one friend I had who was really mean. Like she was really mean. Like she did some fucked up stuff to me. But I remember she was doing my makeup and I had tingles on my head. So in that moment, it was the genuine care for me to look as pretty as she could possibly make me look. This is somebody who herself, she said she was diagnosed with a personality disorder. And I'm like thinking about if she's able to be so caring in that moment, can people be trained to be kinder? Can people, and I don't even remember where I started with this, but I'm like, maybe there's stuff about humanity, there's a narrative we're telling ourselves that we're categorizing people, and maybe that's not really what it is. When we look at another species and they're like going through something, we don't say, oh well, that dog is bipolar. We say, oh, that dog grew up um, in a dangerous environment. That dog doesn't trust people. We should be kind to the dog, as kind as we can, so they can recover. The same thing with the telepathy tapes. And they're trying to get people in spiritual. Where am I going with this? And they're trying to get people who are spiritually involved. They'll be kind to them. And I think we need that. I don't even remember where I started, but
Nah, 100%. I was following. I think everybody could follow your train of logic there. That definitely makes sense. Like, I really feel like maybe we can't change our core personalities. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that we can develop like an alter ego, or like we can develop our strength and restraint, you know what I'm saying, of constantly asserting our desires, you know what I'm saying, constantly being selfish. Like I do think people could learn to do the right thing when it's the harder thing to do. I really believe in that. I feel like we don't have a choice. Like we got to learn how to get along because, like I mean, as much as I value my sense of self and value, like I feel like someone's encroaching upon my humanity when they ask me to bite my tongue. But at the same time, I know if I was always, just saying everything I thought out loud, I would never have any friends or anybody to work with. Like, I know that that's just not realistic either. So I think that there is a balance to be found and maintained, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to just, learning to get along and cooperate with other people. I feel like that's what music is all about. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of everyone being on the same wavelength and frequency through doing dialectic, through music, through talking about it and having a sometimes intense conversation about, what I'm saying, like where, what I'm saying, like how people want to
the sum of our
perceive.
life.
Exactly. You know.
And I remember where I was going with this. It was about getting my clothing stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really was a digression. It was just that at that point in time, I was in so much pain that I think I just shut off myself. And that's why I'm trying to like get myself back. I think that's really what happened. So I couldn't even process anything anymore because the environment I was at that time was really dangerous. And when you're in fight or flight, I'm not going to be thinking about who to trust, who not, because everybody is overwhelming me right now. Everyone is. So they stole my clothing. Yeah.
Wait, so you're
Yeah.
saying like, yeah, you're used to like your core personality is somebody who's all your, I guess like neurological faculties are all connected. So you're used to not having to dissect your emotions or kind of cut off the circulation of your emotions, throughout your being. But now you're kind of having to reassimilate everything. You're having to allow the back of your head to connect with your neck, to connect with your heart, to connect with your gut, to your soul, like allow everything to just be synonymous and aligned, you know what I'm saying, and communicate properly at this point
Yeah.
after having to ensure that you wouldn't pop off, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, because your emotions
Yeah.
could have gotten the best of you, but you were able to maintain control by just having to shut everything down for a second. That makes sense. I think we all go through that from time to time. So so like where are you at with everything now? You know what I'm saying? Like you went to school, like you moved to LA, I guess, with the intent of
That makes
doing the
sense.
pop thing, right? Or were you trying to just do?
Well, I'm not gonna say I did say at first I want to do rock and stuff. I'm like, why
Okay.
limit myself? Let's just make what happens.
Yeah, yeah,
Right
yeah.
now I'm trying to get more into music modes so I can like hear in different melodies. I really like Locrian, but I don't understand it fully yet.
Yeah, so
So
like
I'm trying
musical, wait, real quick. I don't mean to cut you out, but music modes like for people who don't speak like, nerd when it comes to musicology. like music modes are like just different colors or different scales, right? Like in the music, like maybe low green is like a purple and it has like a specific rules and notes that you can only play in low green, where
Mixolydian. Hey, see, it's been a minute, right?
Mixolydian. Yeah, it's like the dominant sound, you know what I'm saying? So it creates like a certain emotional or color palette. So each one of those is like a different color on your like that you're using on your palette when you're applying it to the canvas, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
okay, where so you
Because
experiment with different modes.
yeah, it's like like that piano thing, like C D E F G, and then you just keep going up, and there's your modes. But yeah, so I've been trying to get into that just to hear differently, and I know it's working because today I was thinking of Jessie Ware's song "Begin Again," and I was singing in major. The song's written in minor. I was like, I just really feel like so my brain was able to do the math and go, this is how it would sound like if the song is in major.
Oh,
So
okay.
that used to when I first moved here, like when I was really depressed, that used to happen to me all the time. Like it was really weird. There was a time where I was just constantly hearing harmonies of songs I heard, and it would just be like it wouldn't stop. Like I would be trying to get it to stop by listening to music, but I was hearing so many different harmonies that didn't exist in the song. I just find that so interesting.
Wow.
I feel like I was accessing something. Even maybe I was so dissociated. It's very anyway, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I haven't really been I've kind of taken a step back from everything music, honestly. This is the closest contact that I allow myself to have with the music
You'll be back.
industry. You
You'll
already
be
know.
back.
But I've been waking up, like I think like my spirit is just yearning, you know what I'm saying, just fiending for music again, because I'll wake up with these melodies in my head, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they're new melodies. Like I had a dream last night and I woke up with a melody in my head. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes they're like old, they're like, previously existing melodies from other
But maybe
artists.
they want you to do something with them.
I think, yeah, I think I need
Zeitgeist.
to be patient, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you pray to God and you want things soon or now, like to God, He's been here since the beginning of the universe. So soon to Him could be a decade. You know what I'm saying? Where soon to me is like I want it like literally within a few minutes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of letting everything percolate, like letting it all well up until like my cup overfloweth, and then that's probably when I'll, try to just let everything, overflow and pen to paper or just get in the studio and get on the keyboard, do what I need to do. But yeah, I think I just need a break from the music industry. But yeah, I feel that that's what's up, that you're able to kind of translate too. Like you have these melodies in your head and you're able to automatically process them and like translate them into like from happy to sad, you know what I'm saying? From whatever the song originally, like the original emotional intent, into just how you're feeling. Like you embody and like rephrase, everything to fit your perspective, which is interesting. That's what's up. So have you been writing recently? Like,
I did
okay.
write a song recently. I'm shocked. And the thing is, my memory is still shit. So I can't tell you what the melody is off the top of my head. But I've been doing what the book, The Artist Way, been telling me. So I have a spot that I'll go to and I'll sing. I'll sing songs I know I'll practice for open mics or jam sessions. And I'll write. And this song came out of me the other day. And I just was like, okay, because before I was looking at like, oh, you have to finish an album, you have to get this unit. It's like, what if you just write to write, see what comes, and so then you'll have like Tupac amount of songs, like because he was writing all the time. Like if you do that, then you don't have to stress. And then like limiting beliefs too, like always thinking like, oh, like you have to write to a beat. It's like, no, you don't. Like God can conspire to make everything really easy. So just write the songs. Because for me, I think the most natural thing is just hearing the song in my head. Like there wasn't like I would just make up songs on the spot. So people are like, how do you make the songs? Like it just is in my head and then I write the song type shit. I think there was another singer who was in the 70s or something. She was talking about how she is the same thing because I wasn't well trained as a kid. So the only means for me making a song is to imagine the song. I wasn't very good at guitar and I didn't grow up playing the piano. So it's not like I could like play and then, oh, this chord, now I'm hearing the melody. It's just, I have to hear the melody first. But
Mm.
that doesn't create a constraint of can people hear the chords that you want with the melody? Like, but I'm just gonna have to believe that it's possible, yeah, because I think I'm starting to realize way more things are possible than we even realize. So yeah, that should be the case. That can be. Yeah.
So like you not having the medium of like the piano or a guitar, you know what I'm saying, actually allowed you to fully realize the structure of the song with like 100% clarity or close to in your head before you were even able to like make it tangible. That's pretty cool. Actually, that's what's up. So like, where can your fans hear your music online and like under what moniker? Like, are you on
See,
all that?
that's the thing, because I don't have my songs online yet, but they can follow me on social media. I'm gonna have to change my stage name. I'll probably use this one because Prince visited me in a dream. He said to use this name. But for the time being, it will be I am vexxie, IAMVEXXIE. But I guess if I change it, what would I change it to? Hmm.
Hmm,
Atalina exists? Something like that. Maybe
that's
that.
original. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be that.
Word.
I appreciate you talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're anticipating the birth of Adelina. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, so
It's cute. You
yeah, yeah,
sang it.
yeah.
It's cute.
Right.
It's
Yeah, so I'll
cute.
have a link to that in the description, and I could update the description should you decide to change your handle anytime soon. So do you have a
Mhm.
band? Like where can people hear you live if they're in the Los Angeles area?
Pop Rocks Jam, I usually perform at, and I'm doing an event on the 26th. Um, that'll be with Rockin' 1,000. I probably will have a band soon. It's something that I just need to do now. I've been wanting to do that. I was actually trying to do that in San Diego, but nobody was serious. So now I need to be the one who's super serious
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have a band. Yeah,
Yeah, you definitely are the
other
leader. You're the
people.
CEO of your organization. So I'm sure it'd be a good idea, you know what I'm saying, for you to have a well-rehearsed band that's ready on and on call. So you're ready to play any
Mhm.
show bill at any venue. That's what's up. All right,
Yeah.
so I think we're kind of getting to that point. I'm gonna go ahead and I don't want to hold you up. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But I got a couple of rapid fire verses
Ooh.
questions for you just between two. I'm gonna give you two artists and you could just pick, whatever one resonates with your spirit more. I
Used to
hate to
do
like,
that.
I
That was
hate
how
to,
you distract me. I appreciated that back then.
yeah,
That was helpful.
I hate to put pressure on you, you know what I'm saying, and make you choose, you know what I'm saying. But all right, so as quick as you can. Are you ready?
Oh, sure. All right.
All right. Chris Brown or Usher?
Sure.
Billie Eilish or Sabrina Carpenter?
Oh, fuck. Billy Eilish. Sorry, Sabrina.
Okay. Glorilla or Meg The Stallion?
Meg the Stallion.
Okay. Drake or Kendrick?
Kendrick.
Last one. Bad Bunny or Justin Bieber?
Don't get mad, Justin Bieber. He's a great singer.
All right. Nah, okay. I see you. Word.
All right.
All right. Yeah, that's about time. Yo, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate having you on. I know the audience is gonna appreciate hearing what you have to say. So thank you so much. Hope to hear
Thank
from
you for
you
having me.
again soon. Can't wait to see you realize your trajectory, you know what I'm saying, in the music industry. So thanks.
Thank you. All right. Have a great rest of your day.